I never knew love could be this beautiful, until I saw their heartbreaking journey unfolding. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a crisp autumn evening. Leaves crunched beneath my feet, each step echoing in the fading light. The air was thick with unsaid words, and I felt it in my chest, a tightness, a dread. That day changed everything. My brother, Jamie, sat alone in the living room. His eyes were vacant, like a black hole pulling everything into its darkness. He looked up at me, his hands trembling, cradling a little envelope like it held the weight of the world. "I don't know how to tell you," he whispered. The words caught in my throat. I've always been the protective one, yet in that moment, he needed me. Mom had just recovered from her long illness. We thought we'd finally caught a break. But now, the room felt like a storm was brewing, tension electric in the air. I could smell the stale coffee from earlier, feel the weight of worry settling on my shoulders. I rushed to his side, the flickering light casting shadows that danced around us. "Just tell me, Jamie," I urged, my heart racing faster than I could keep up. He opened the envelope, revealing a single sheet of paper. My blood ran cold. The words "terminal" and "months to live" stared back at me. My world froze. I barely registered the tears streaming down my face. My entire being trembled. Every fear I had buried clawed its way to the surface. How could our lives change so drastically in a matter of seconds? There was a knock on the door. My heart skipped. Was it Dad? He was supposed to be at work. Instead, it was Laura, my best friend since childhood. She stepped in, her eyes wide with confusion, scanning the room. She sensed something was wrong. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice soft but urgent. Jamie turned away, unable to meet her gaze. I could barely speak, each word caught in a chasm of despair. "It's Mom," I managed, feeling the weight of the world crash down on us again. Suddenly, I felt the walls closing in, the air thickening. Laura's expression turned from confusion to horror. She reached for Jamie, her hands steadying him. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, it felt monumental. In that room filled with silence, the three of us stood on the edge of a cliff. One look at Jamie's face told me everything. I couldn't lose Mom. Not now. And yet, the crumpled paper in my trembling hands screamed otherwise. Hope and despair tangled in my mind. What happens next? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days that followed were a blur of chaos and quiet moments that dripped with sadness. The crunch of autumn leaves underfoot became a haunting reminder of how quickly things could change. Jamie and I found ourselves rotating through a cycle of pleading hope and thudding despair. Every morning brought the sun's rays filtering through the curtains, illuminating the shadows we carried within us. Every evening, as dusk settled over our home, we found ourselves clutching at uncertainties, trying to piece our family back together. Mom's hospital visits became a familiar, dreadful routine. Each time we sat in the waiting room, the sterile smell of antiseptics gnawed at my nerves, while snippets of other families' conversations seemed to waltz around us, mocking our silence. I held Jamie's hand tightly, an anchor in the swirling uncertainty, but there were moments when I could see the flicker of hope in his eyes start to dim. He would catch my gaze, and the understanding between us told me this weight wasn't meant for one alone. The sympathy of those around us, mostly acquaintances we hadn't spoken to in years, blossomed unexpectedly like late-blooming flowers. From neighbors dropping off meals they had prepared to distant relatives calling with words of comfort, it was a kindness we didn't know we needed. Yet, even these gestures felt like stepping stones leading to an unpredictable chasm. I would smile and thank them, but inside, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were only delaying the inevitable point. One evening, after yet another appointment that left us all feeling fractured, Laura insisted we take a walk around the nearby park. The air was cool and the sky painted with hues of purple and gold as the sun began to set. I didn't think I had the energy for it, but Jamie's slight nod of agreement gave me resolve. I needed to keep him tethered to something beyond our reality. As we strolled along the winding path, the laughter of children filled the air, mixing with the rustling leaves like a symphony of life. I could see Jamie's eyes light up momentarily, a glimmer of the boy he used to be. But that spark quickly dimmed when he caught sight of a mother laughing with her young daughter, their bond apparent. Jamie's expression turned ghostly as he whispered, "I don't want to think about losing her." Those simple words broke something in me, something I didn't know was so fragile. I felt my heart shatter, but I didn't want to break in front of him. I forced myself to breathe through the knot in my throat and instead squeezed his hand tighter, bolstering the bond between us. "We're not losing anyone. Not yet," I attempted to reassure him, though I too felt our time slipping dangerously. "Promise?" he asked, his voice smaller than I had ever heard it. I nodded, fighting back tears that threatened to spill over. "I promise, Jamie." Just as we reached a clearing, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow that glinted off the autumn leaves. Everything seemed to pause in that moment, a blissful tranquility settling like a soft blanket around us. But then came the chilling reminder of our reality. The phone in my pocket buzzed incessantly, shattering the serenity like glass breaking against stone. It was a text from the hospital. My heart raced as I read the words. "We need to discuss your mother's treatment plan." The weight of those words pressed heavily on my chest as I felt Jamie's hopeful gaze slip away. Despair took root between us again. Before I could say anything, Laura stepped in, searching for words to bridge this new gap. "Why don't we get ice cream?" she suggested. "There's this place nearby that makes the best sundae." A weak smile worked its way onto Jamie's lips, coaxed into existence by the promise of sweet indulgence. "That sounds great," he replied, his voice slightly more confident. As we walked, I clung to that small moment of hope, but a shadow loomed over me, a premonition that our fragile happiness might not last. When we reached the ice cream shop, the laughter and cheerful chatter inside spilled over into the street. We took our seats at a small wooden table outside, waiting for our treats, but all I could think of was the looming hospital visit. Laura leaned in then, her eyes serious yet gentle. "I know it feels unbearable right now, but I want you to know I'm here for both of you. We'll get through this together." The sincerity in her voice ignited something within me, like a flickering candle in an otherwise dark room. I took a deep breath, appreciating this unwavering support as if it were a life raft amid our stormy sea. But just then, my phone buzzed again, drawing my attention away. The text was from Dad. I opened it with trepidation. "We need to talk about Mom's wishes. It's important." The dread returned, settling deep into my bones. I felt Jamie's unease beside me, and the thoughts raced through my mind. What could this mean? I forced myself to push those ideas aside, but the pit of unease grew heavier with each passing second. As our ice cream arrived, Jamie smiled up at me, his eyes filled with trust and innocence, but I was suddenly overwhelmed by an unquenchable fear. "He'll be right back," I muttered, rising from my seat, unable to contain the whirlwind inside me. "Where are you going?" Jamie called after me. "I just need a moment," I replied, trying to sound steady. As I stepped away from the table, the weight of the world pressed against my chest. I hurried toward the restroom, needing to collect myself before I shattered in front of them. But as I opened the door, I overheard a voice of me father's, angry and desperation the other side of the wall, discussing plans that I was not ready to hear. The words pierced me. "If she can't fight this, what are we going to do? I can't lose her." Each syllable felt like a stone dropped into a bottomless well of despair. The reality of our situation crashed over me, and as I stood frozen, fear clenched my heart tighter than ever before. In that moment, I was faced with a choice: to confront my mother's story or to slip into the safety of denial once again. But deceit wouldn't help anyone, and I knew deep down I couldn't turn away from the truth. Steeling myself, I turned back toward the table, determination queuing beneath the surface, but my heart raced with the unsettling knowledge that answers awaited me, whether I was ready or not. The moon hung high in the night sky, casting a pale light over the park as I returned to the table. I could see Laura with her arm around Jamie. Their silhouettes merged in a cocoon of warmth that made the cold air seem a little less biting. Yet inside, I felt like I was teetering on the edge of a precipice, peering down into an abyss I couldn't even begin to comprehend. I slid back into my chair, forcing a smile, but Jamie's luminous gaze bore through the charade. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice wrapped in concern. "I'm fine," I replied, but the tremor in my voice betrayed me. Guilt washed over me. His boy shouldn't be worrying about me when he was already carrying so much. "It's just the ice cream." I pointed at the sundae as if that revelation could divert his attention. He chuckled softly, his laughter a fragile sound that echoed against the weighty silence between us. "You're really not fine, are you?" I sighed, pushing my sundae around the table, the melted chocolate pooling like my thoughts, dark, swirling, and hard to contain. "No, I guess I'm not." Laura glanced back and forth between us, taking a moment before she chimed in. "Why don't we share what we're feeling? I think it might help us all." "I'm scared, Laura," Jamie admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if something happens to Mom?" I wanted to reach across the table to wipe away the furrow forming on his brow, but all I could do was nod in solidarity. "Me too, bud. I'm scared too. Sometimes it feels like a bad nightmare that I can't wake up from," he said, his brave facade crumbling as his voice trembled on that last word. "Then let's be brave together," I said, squeezing his hand. "We'll face this. We will." The resolve in my voice surprised even me. I held onto it like a lifeline, praying it anchored us through the storm. Suddenly, across the park, a couple burst into laughter, their joy ringing loud and clear. Jamie turned to watch them, an unguarded smile creeping onto his face. It was a moment that couldn't last, joy and sorrow entwined like twisted vines. But as soon as Laura caught my eye, she gave me a faint nod, signaling that perhaps the fleeting crisis had passed, if only for a moment. After finishing our ice creams, we began the walk back to our car. The air was chilly, but it held a hint of nostalgia as memories of happier days flooded my mind. Days when Jamie would play soccer in the sunlit park, his laughter echoing like music. I wanted desperately to breathe life back into those memories, but they felt impossibly far away. As we drove home, Jamie's hand slipped into mine, grasping tightly, grounding me. What did Grandpa need to talk about? Did he sound scared too? His question hung in the air, heavy with trepidation that I hesitated, my heart racing as I tried to find the right words to not shatter his innocence yet not allow him to be blindsided by the truth. He just wanted to talk about how we can all help Ma. The words felt incredibly inadequate as I said them. He remained quiet for a few moments before murmuring, "I just want her to be okay." "Me too," I whispered, the pain welling inside threatening to spill over. The house came into view, dark and still, bearing the emptiness that waited for us within its walls. Laura parked and turned her attention to Jamie. "Want to help me cook something fun? Maybe some cookies?" "Yeah," he beamed, the spark reigniting as he leaped from the car, the weight of the evening fading into the background. I couldn't help but smile at his enthusiasm, but as I stepped inside the house, that familiar sense of dread crept back, wrapping around me like fog. Then I remembered my phone, the unaddressed message from my father. I picked it up to read the now too familiar words again, the ones that chilled my spine. "We need to talk about Mom's wishes. It's important." Just as I was about to reply, my phone buzzed with another message, but this time it was from my sister, a name I hadn't seen in weeks. The last time we'd spoken, it had ended badly, words flung like daggers trapped between us. "She won't make it unless we do something," she wrote. "You need to." Decidito, we let her go. Every word struck with the force of an avalanche, leaving me breathless. My hands shook as I fought back tears, the weight of her words dragging me deeper into despair. It was one thing to wrestle with my own fears. It was another entirely to be thrust into a decision that could tear us apart. "Are you okay?" Laura's voice pierced the fog, and as I looked up, I could see her brows knitted together, concern etching deeper lines on her face. "No, I'm not," I said, clarity cutting through the haze like a knife. "Not at all." Just as Jamie called out for us from the kitchen, excitement buzzing in his voice, I sent a text back to my sister, my heart hammering louder with each second of waiting for a reply. The darkness of uncertainty loomed larger than before, and as I glanced at Jamie's cheerful face in the other room, I knew our fragile hope was hanging by a thread. "Mom needs a miracle," I whispered into the stillness around me, feeling the world press against my chest once again, knowing that the real battle was yet to come. The short-lived joy of seeing Jamie cook with Laura began to fade the moment the kitchen door closed behind them, sealing my struggles within these walls. The flutter of laughter from the other room acted as an elusive balm, concealing the sharp ache consuming me from the inside. I fought to shake the thoughts that wrapped around my heart like iron chains, dragging it steadily towards despair. Mom's wishes, I whispered to myself, staring blankly at the kitchen counter. Decisions, heavy like granite, tumbled in my mind. Would we let her go if it meant sparing her suffering? But what kind of brother would I be to even contemplate that? The very idea unnerved me, sending a chill through my body. But a slight creak shifted my attention, and I turned to see Laura peeking out from the kitchen doorway, balancing a bowl of dough in her hands, uncertain of my mood. "Do you want to join us?" she asked softly, her expression shifting from concern to a tentative hope. That I hesitated. Part of me wanted nothing more than to be swept away by their joy. Still, the weight in my chest felt insurmountable. "I think you'll just be here for a bit," I finally replied, forcing a smile that I hoped would reassure her. "Okay," she said softly, retreating back into the kitchen. Yet I could sense her disappointment lingering in the air, thickening the silence between us. Moments passed, each second dragging on like an eternity. I could hear Jamie's giggles rising above the din of mixing bowls and the soft thud of cookies being placed on trays. How could they find solace in creating something together when everything felt so precarious? It felt like they existed in a different world, one untouched by looming decisions and heartache. Then my phone buzzed again, pulling me from my spiraling thoughts. Another message from my sister. "You have to stop being so selfish. Mom would never forgive you." The accusation was like a slap to my face. I felt my heart hammering even faster, the anger bubbling just beneath the surface. How could she not see the anguish I was wrapped in? Before I could respond, an unannounced reality rushed at me like a tidal wave. A soft voice broke into my mental chaos. "I thought I heard you in here." It was Jamie, his face smudged with flour, pride beaming through his wide smile. "Hey, buddy," I replied, attempting to match his energy while feeling the weight caving in again at the edges. "How's the cookie making going?" "Great. Laura let me add chocolate chips, and am decorating with sprinkles." The brightness in his voice sliced through the darkness, momentarily inspiring hope. What would he do without this joy? "Sounds delicious. Can I have one when they're done?" I asked, and he nodded, enchanted by his creation. "Of course, but you have to wait. They aren't ready yet," he said, a mock-serious expression decorating his face. It was ridiculous how much a small moment of levity meant to my heart, a flicker of affection that reminded me of the love we shared, juxtaposed beneath a mountain of fear and uncertainty. But even as I basked in this moment, the looming shadows never left my mind. The tiny ticking clock on the wall reminded me of the urgency of our situation, how, with every passing moment, decisions felt both monumental and inevitable. "Will she get better?" Jamie's voice cut through my thoughts suddenly, sincere and laced with youthful hope. I wanted to tell him yes, but the bitter truth scratched at my throat. "I don't know, Jamie. All we can do is hope," and I hesitated, struggling to maintain the brave face I presented. "And be there for her." He remained quiet for a moment. I could see the fragile thoughts swirling in his mind before he spoke again. "I hope she likes the cookies. Maybe they'll make her smile." With that simple statement, a flicker of warmth ignited inside me. "I'm sure they will," I whispered, suddenly feeling the weight of my responsibilities creeping back in. In that moment, I decided to muster the strength to join them in the kitchen. "Okay, I'm coming to help," I called out, pushing off the counter with renewed determination, my heart beating with a mix of foreboding and tenderness. As I stepped into the kitchen, the aroma of vanilla and sweetness enveloped me, a small comfort amidst the storm brewing in my soul. Jamie was busy lining the fresh cookies on the tray while Laura hummed. Together, their routine was enchanting, weaving joy into the air that felt so palpable I almost forgot the heaviness behind it all. For a brief moment, the world outside faded away, all the tension, all the worry. Simple laughter filled the gaps of fear. I joined them, rolling the dough into perfect little balls, embracing the distraction, the connection it offered. But just as I began to let my guard down, my phone buzzed with grim urgency again. Staring at the screen, my heart sank immediately. My sister had replied, "It's not just about Mom, it's about all of us. I won't let you hide from this. She deserves more than indecision." My breath hitched in my throat, the weight of the world crashing down anew. I wanted to trust that little glimmer of hope to shine through all this darkness. But as Jamie's innocent laughter rang out, I couldn't help but wonder how long before reality forced me to weigh my love against impossible choices. And as I locked eyes with Laura for one fleeting second, a wave of understanding passed between us, and my heart dropped, knowing that the true reckoning was yet to come. The kitchen, once filled with warmth, began to feel stifling as the relentless buzz of my phone became a dark metronome, counting down moments filled with crucial decisions. Each note from my sister punctuated my own spiraling thoughts, like stones tossed into an already turbulent sea. I could feel tension building in the air, and my heart raced with the impending weight of all I was trying to avoid. As I forced myself back into the rhythm of baking, I caught Jamie's laughter once more, sweet and innocent, a beacon of joy that contrasted sharply with the storm within me. Placing the dough balls neatly onto the tray, my fingers trembled, not from the fear of cookies collapsing, but from the overwhelming sense of fragility encasing our little world. Laura caught the look on my face and placed a gentle hand on my arm. "You okay?" she asked softly, her eyes searching mine with genuine concern. I mustered a nod, trying to mask the turmoil swirling beneath my stoic exterior. "I'm fine," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper, but the tremor gave me away. She didn't press further, but I could sense a shift in the air, a tension that came from unspoken truths. Together, we finished decorating the cookies, an almost mundane task that felt increasingly monumental with each sprinkle of color. The silence between us deepened as I felt those hidden revelations swirl like storm clouds overhead. I wanted to shout out my fears, to share the burden of decisions weighing on my heart. But Jamie remained blissfully unaware of the emotional tempest threatening to tear our family apart. As the timer beeped, signaling our confections were ready, Jamie clapped his hands in delight. "They're done. Can we take them to Mom now?" His eyes sparkled with excitement, a vision of innocence that wrenched my heart. A knot formed in my throat as I looked to Laura, an unspoken agreement passing between us. The cookies, a small act of love, were meant to offer comfort in a time of uncertainty. "Let's wait just a bit longer, okay? I want them to be perfect," I managed to say, trying to mask my own creeping dread as I reached for a few cookies to sample. "All right," Jamie replied, blissfully unaware, but I could sense Laura's concerned gaze lingering on me. I shoved a morsel into my mouth, letting the sweetness melt away momentarily at least some of my anguish. Yet, the moment of respite was cut short as my phone buzzed again. Yet another message, almost before I had finished chewing. "Dad's coming over. He wants to talk." My sister's words spread like cold oil through my veins. I hadn't even thought of my father in this chaos. The man whose decisiveness had always dictated our family, now looming on the horizon like a storm. He would demand answers, solutions that didn't exist. "Do you think I should be the one to tell Mom?" I murmured, a flood of new fears surging through me. Memories of our father's stern voice and unyielding expectations flashed in my mind. Would he resent me for not acting? Would he see my indecision as weakness? I glanced at Laura, the woman I had begun to lean on during this turmoil, her expression a mix of empathy and worry. "I wish I could help you through this," she said softly, slipping a cookie into the palm of my hand. "But know whatever you decide, you're not alone." Her words bolstered me momentarily, yet I still felt lost. I took a breath to quell the anxiety clenching my chest. "I just want Mom to be okay," I confessed, unable to contain the rush of emotion threatening to spill over. "But how do I choose between what she wants and what's best for her?" Laura's eyes softened as she searched for the right words. "I don't think anyone can answer that for you. You will have to trust your heart. We all want what's best for her. You just have to be honest with yourself." In that fleeting moment of shared vulnerability, Jamie bounded back into focus, clutching a cookie decorated with sprinkles, his face aglow with the excitement of presenting them to Mom. "Let's go," he exclaimed, ready to march into the storm, blissfully unaware of the thunder rumbling just beyond the door. I glanced at Laura, whose expression was a mix of resolve and trepidation. "Are you ready?" she asked, her voice barely steady. It felt as though she, too, understood the weight of what was to come, layered with hope that incidentally echoed Jamie's innocence. Yet, just as we turned towards the door, A sharp knock echoed through the house, filling the space with an almost tangible tension. I froze, my whole body tensing at the sound. Every hope I had clung to felt threatened as I exchanged glances with Laura. "It's him," she breathed, and I felt the world tilt beneath me. Now was the moment I felt the urgent gravity of our situation pressing down. Jamie bounced on his toes, oblivious to the heavy atmosphere. "Let's open it." I stood rooted in place, heart racing, dreading the confrontation lurking just beyond our fragile sanctuary. Time seemed to stretch in that momentum, unbearable pause hovering over us like a heavy curtain on the brink of falling. As Jamie flung open the door, and my father stepped inside, I braced for the onslaught of questions, decisions, and the impossible choices that loomed ahead. All I had ever wanted was time, and now it felt as though the clock was winding down. And amidst the cacophony of our fragile reality, a chilling thought occupied my mind. There wouldn't be enough cookies to mask the heartache we were all about to face. The door swung open, revealing my father, a silhouette of authority framed by the fading light. His expression was unreadable, a mix of determination and fatigue etched into the lines on his face. "I'm here," he announced, a mere formality that sent an electric chill through the air. My heart raced. An orchestra of panic overtaking the calm facade I tried so desperately to maintain high. "Dad," I managed to croak out, my voice tremulous. Jamie rushed forward, oblivious to the tension, thrusting the plate of cookies towards his grandfather with a wide-eyed smile. "We made these for you." For a brief moment, my father's stern demeanor cracked, the corners of his mouth lifting slightly as he took a cookie. "What have you got here, champ?" He took a bite, the warmth of family momentarily dispersing the heavy atmosphere, yet I knew it was fleeting. I exchanged a glance with Laura, whose concern mirrored my own. "Let's talk," my dad said, his voice low. With every syllable, I could feel the gravity of the impending conversation tightening around us. Each heavy word struck me anew, blanketing all hope under the weight of unasked questions and unsaid fears. Maybe we shouldn't," I stammered, panic welling within me as I tried to stall the inevitable. Jamie looked back and forth between us, confusion starting to cloud his bright eyes. "There's not much to discuss, really," my father replied, his tone brushing against impatience. "We can't ignore what's happening with your mother." He was like a storm wrapped in wool, soft but pummeling, and I sensed that everything I feared was about to unfold. "Dad," I started, but the lump in my throat constricted my voice. My gaze drifted to Laura, who stood beside me, her silent strength a tether to reality amidst the chaos swirling in my mind. I paused, taking a breath to steady myself. "I'm not sure how do I mean. It's complicated." I desperately clung to any fragment of hope, any indignation against the truth. Laura squeezed my hand, grounding me. "You don't have to carry this alone, or pretend that everything is okay," she said softly. Her words soothed the raw ache in my heart, giving me the courage to dig further into my fears. "We need to face this as a family." But before I could respond, my father's voice boomed. "We can't delay this. Your mother needs to know what's coming." A dizzying spiral of emotions gripped me: anger, helplessness, fierce love. I could feel the tears pricking at the edges of my resolve, but I struggled to keep them at bay. What if we handle this differently? What if it doesn't have to break her? It breaks us, too. My father's eyes flickered momentarily, revealing a hint of vulnerability hidden behind the sternness. But he quickly masked it with a hardened expression. "We have to be straightforward. She deserves that, more than anything." Underneath my father's unwavering approach lay decades of history, wounds that never fully healed between us. I wanted to scream that we could speak without words, that love could sometimes be about silence, about filling moments with presence instead of pressure. But the weight of his expectations bore down heavier than the guilt gnawing at my insides. Jamie, still clutching the plate of cookies, chirped in cheerily, "Dad, it's Christmas soon. Mom will be better by then, right?" His innocence shattered me, each word a reminder of how displaced our joy had become. I bit back tears, forcing a smile as a harsh laugh threatened to escape. Before I could respond, my father kneeled down to Jamie's level, a flicker of warmth finding its way back into his harsh demeanor. "We'll do everything we can to make sure she gets through this, buddy." He ruffled Jamie's hair affectionately, and in that fleeting moment, a blend of harsh reality and tender compassion unfolded before me. But as quickly as it began, the moment was over. My father stood up, the weight of purpose returning as if he had repositioned armor. We need to get our story straight. I can't have you stalling, especially not when I can see that things are already unraveling. A chill swept through me as I felt the admission lurking beneath his words, a realization that there was no denying the dread looming over us all. Just as clarity wrestled in my heart, I knew something vital was about to fall apart. Before we talk, I want to show you something, I said suddenly, the impulse guiding me toward the photo album resting on the coffee table. But my dad interrupted, a sharpness returning to his voice. What's done is done. There's no more time for nostalgia. We need to focus on now. Each word stung like the chill of winter. I felt the disconnect grow insurmountable. In that heavy moment, I couldn't help but wonder if I'd ever have the courage to reveal the truth behind my own fears, the way I felt shackled by my decisions. Just then, I noticed Laura move closer to me, her small gesture of solidarity sparking a flicker of courage somewhere deep inside. But before I could voice those unspoken feelings, Jamie tugged on my sleeve, wide-eyed and hopeful. Can we just be happy for now? His innocence glimmered like sunlight through dark clouds, urging me to find a way back to the bright path even as shadows loomed. And then, without warning, my phone buzzed on the tablia. New message, a ripple of bright disquiet cutting through our fragile moment. The screen lit up with a name that sent jolts of foreboding through my chest. It was my mother. It reverberated through the silence that had enveloped us. Come home. The tension in the air thickened with the weight of unspoken fears, and as I reached for the phone, that chilling realization crept back. The journey wasn't over. Far from it. My heart raced, knowing that the very balance we sought was on the brink of fracture. And just like that, the horizon loomed dark once more, filled with uncertainty. The moment hung in the air, charged with unexpressed fears and a sense of impending loss that clawed at my throat. My heart hadn't yet adjusted to the waves of emotions surrounding us, my mother's message hanging heavily like an unfinished symphony. Did she text you? Laura's voice cut through, filled with worry as she stepped even closer. I nodded, unable to articulate the swirl of thoughts in my mind. Would I have to go home and face my mother's confusion, all while grappling with the reality of her condition? Would I have to feign strength when I felt shattered inside? Maybe I should go see her, I said softly, the words tasting bittersweet as they left my mouth. The distress etched on Laura's face tugged at me. I wanted to assure her that I'd be okay, but my own uncertainty blanketed that promise. I mean, right now, she's probably waiting for me. She needs you. But we all do, she replied, her voice steady. Laura was always that anchor for me, grounding me even when the tumultuous waves crashed. I began hesitantly, my voice wavering with unspoken fears. What if I'm not strong enough for either of them? My father's expression softened, a glimmer of understanding breaking through. You've got to be. For Jamie, for your mother, for both of us, he said, the weight of urgency anchoring his words. He couldn't hide his fear anymore, and beneath the layers of steely strength, I sensed how deeply troubled he truly was. It surprised me, this unexpected solidarity. Even amidst our lingering grief. In that moment, Jamie piped up again, pulling my focus. And you have me, right? He was bright-eyed, selfless beneath the weight of grown-up worries surrounding him. We can help Mom. She needs cookies. The innocence in his voice tugged at my heartstrings, a flicker of light amid the shadows. Let's bake her a fresh batch when we come back, I encouraged, smiling down at him, even as my chest tightened. Perhaps I could balance my own sorrow with the hope that there was still joy to be shared within our shattered family. Don't try to carry all this alone, Laura added, squeezing my hand tighter. We can find power in each other, she encouraged, her eyes shining with warmth and empathy. The notion resonated deeply, but that simple wisdom felt like a gossamer thread against the ensemble of uncertainties that still loomed over us. Together, we could face the impending storm. Yet the thought of seeing my mother drained of her vivacity bottled me up, fear of what I might find lurking beneath her tired eyes. Let's go, I finally uttered, swallowing hard, and I took a step towards the door where my father stood, a barrier and a link both in the turbulence between us. It wasn't simply a decision. It was a pact of unity even amidst unspoken resentment crackling in the air. "Here, let me carry those," he said, gesturing toward the plate of cookies Jamie still held tightly. He bore them with unexpected tenderness, starting for the door. Jamie's gaze sparkled as he hurried to catch up with his grandfather. Watching them, I felt fractured moments begin to stitch together even with the looming heartbreak. The glimmers of gentleness flickered in the tension. My heart swelled with something close to hope. Wait, what if I turned to Laura, uncertainty fluttering in my chest? What if we do this wrong? Laura shook her head slowly, a slight smile on her lips. You won't. Love doesn't expect perfection. It thrives in these moments of fragility. Confidence intertwined with vulnerability in her words. I couldn't help but draw strength from them. You're doing the best you can. In that second, everything felt like it might just somehow be okay. Stepping out onto the cold front porch, I inhaled sharply. The world had taken on a muted hue, shadows elongating as the day waned. The chill playing with my breath echoed the apprehensions unfurling inside me. Are you ready? My father called back, the sternness returning to his tone but softened by an underlying layer of determination. And no, I wasn't ready. The fear of what awaited felt like a heavy anchor, pulling me down. Yet standing there, the warmth of the moment, still crackling from our earlier exchange, I felt the urge to change the narrative. A chance to speak my truth. Dad, just wait. I paused, gathering my courage before I could lose that spark again. I think we need to talk about Mom and us, everything that's happened. Before we go in an instant, my father's patience shifted into resolve, forcing him to turn fully towards me. Now is not the time for delays. We have to focus on your mother. Please, I pleaded with intensity one hadn't intended. Just one moment. It may be the last one we get. Glancing at Jamie, his features illuminated with excitement fading as he sensed the turning tide, I felt that pang echoing within me, both of urgency and need. Again, I thought of Laura's words, and I knew they held truth. Without warning, my phone buzzed again, this time a call. The screen flashed with another name, grief and panic washing over me as I took a step back, staring at it like it were a ghost. Maya? My breath caught, and dread filled the crevices of my heart as I slowly answered while my family stared in confusion. Why didn't you tell me? Maya demanded, her voice toneless but layered with urgency. You shouldn't face this alone. I'm not letting you brush me off. Before I could grasp her implications, a new revelation unfurled in the air, possibilities and heartbreak threading into a familiar tapestry. Now, the cliff stared down at me, each choice blurred with the unknown, and my heartbeat thrummed louder in my ears as I prepared to unravel the emotions that swirled around me. I didn't know where this journey would lead, but the truth danced precariously before me, waiting to be uncovered. The call from Maya reverberated through me like the last echoes of a once familiar melody, twisting into something haunting as I struggled to articulate my thoughts. I didn't want to worry you, I managed to whisper, knowing it sounded feeble. My eyes darted back to Laura, my father, and Jamie, their expectant faces a stark contrast to the chaos brewing inside me. You're going through something terrifying, and you're asking me to just wait? Maya's voice cut deeper. I'm not leaving you to carry this. You have to let me in. There was truth in her words, and yet a part of me hesitated. I felt the tightrope of expectation stretching between us, balancing my desire for support against the fear of dragging someone else into my family's whirlwind of grief and uncertainty. Can we talk later? My voice trembled as I pressed the phone closer to my ear, desperate for reassurance that she understood the weight I was trying to bear alone. I need to focus on my mom right now. Focus on what? She pressed. How can you focus on anything when you've barely looked at yourself? You've been putting her first, but it doesn't mean you can just shove your feelings down, Maya. I interrupted, glancing toward Jamie as his eyes widened, sensing the tension rising around me, and my father shifted restlessly. Balancing the splitting sides of my heart felt impossible. We're about to see her. They'll call you back, okay? I felt the weight of her silence, 1,000 unsaid words heavy in the space between us. Just promise me you'll be honest with yourself. You deserve just as much care. I hung up, feeling every ounce of that tension spill into the air. We need to talk, I blurted to my father, my voice rising, catching the surprise on his face. Not just about her. Before I could continue, Jamie broke in, his preoccupied innocence a bright splatter against our dark canvas. Can we bake first? I really want Mom to have cookies. Suddenly, small waves of laughter and delight split through the tension, drawing us all in like moths to a flickering flame. Jamie's excitement was so genuine that it felt like a balm on our souls, and for a brief moment, we shared smiles heavy with unspoken fears. I glanced at Laura, who was now gazing at Jamie with tenderness softened by worry. She stepped closer to me, her voice barely a whisper as she pressed, "You know it's okay to feel lost, right? No one knows how to navigate this, and avoiding it won't help." I nodded, feeling overwhelmed but understood amidst the swirling emotions. And as we stood together, caught in that fragile moment of balance and love, a reality washed over me like an unexpected tide. The pieces of my family, fragile and cracked, had to come together, mustering courage even as we faced insurmountable uncertainty. "Maybe we bake when we get back," I said gently to Jamie, ruffling his hair, knowing that even that simple aspiration carried toothpaste of hope. "We may need some time first." Jamie tilted his head, considering my words. He was so perceptive for his age, and even in his innocence, he somehow harbored this deep understanding that filled me with warmth. "Can I help? I can wash your big mixing bowl," he replied, the spirit of kindness shining through as he stepped forward with fervor, eager to contribute. "I appreciate that, buddy." As I spoke, a sense of quiet camaraderie built around us. But that urge to unravel remained, and with it, more complications brewed. I faced my father's strained posture as he glanced out toward the road, a silent reminder that we needed to keep moving. He began, but paused as though searching for the exact words to wrap this whirlwind of emotions in a tidy conclusion. "We can talk. We will. Just let's go see your mother first." My heart twisted, a battle still raging within, but I felt the gentle pressure of Laura's hand clasping mine, grounding me. Maybe this was just the beginning of planning out how we could navigate our love. While grappling with anguish, we trudged toward the car, the evening chill nipping at our skin. As I settled into the back seat, I glanced out the window, watching the world blur past. The frosty shards of reality lined every corner of my mind. Anxiety, regret, hope, each swirling together like a storm just waiting to break free. As we drove and the city flickered outside, my heart sank, sinking deeper into the emotional mire surrounding us. I fought the rising tide of despair, anticipating what awaited through those hospital doors, the fear of confronting my mother, the truth I still hadn't unraveled. Maya's words echoed in my ears, and as I closed my eyes, I swallowed hard. I couldn't carry this sorrow alone. And in that moment, the warmth of hope I had felt in the kitchen flickered hesitantly, daring me to embrace the vulnerability that lay ahead. The hospital loomed closer, my pulse quickening as we pulled up. Each breath felt more difficult, the weight of sorrow coaxing old wounds back to the surface. And then, before I knew it, I stepped out of the car, heart pounding as shadows reached out toward the entrance. The lingering questions filled my mind, unanswered, aching to be set free. The door swung open, clips of distant laughter fading into silence, each step toward that waiting room echoing louder in my heart. But the moment came to a jolting stop when I stepped forward and caught sight of something chilling through the glass window. My mother sitting in the waiting area, her expression clouded with uncertainty and loneliness, layered in the wake of something emptied. A figure hovered beside her, familiar, unsettling. Why was Maya there? Confusion and fear crashed within me, twisting tightly as I stood frozen, the thread of my heart fraying at the seams. This was not how it was supposed to go. As I struggled to grasp the layers of emotion that spiraled around us, I faced the crossroads of love and heartbreak. What was left unspoken felt heavier than I had anticipated. The waiting room's sterile light felt almost suffocating as I stood frozen, staring through the glass at my mother. Time shifted, each second stretching painfully into eternity as I took in the sight before me. Maya's presence beside her dragged my heart under, like a stone sinking through water. I had pictured this moment countless times, but never like this, never with the backdrop of someone else's support thrust into my tangled emotions. "Did she call you?" The question slipped out, barely a whisper, trembling in the charged atmosphere as the weight of the moment crashed down on me. Who? Laura asked, her tone carrying both concern and confusion. I could see her eyes darting toward the scene unfolding inside, her own heart unsettling with every passing heartbeat. Maya, I choked out, my throat tightening as I fought against the swell of betrayal that twisted within me. Why is she here? Maybe she just my father began, his voice trailing away, sensing the tempest building inside me. She might have come to what? To see my mother? I interrupted sharply, anger lacing through my words as I stepped forward, the thin line of anger colliding with despair. The warmth I'd felt with Jamie and Laura evaporated, replaced by a chilling isolation. It's not like that, Laura said slowly, her voice like a gentle balm as she stepped toward me, trying to ease the tension. She cares about you, and she's worried. Her words, though anyone else might have sounded rational. But emotions had a way of clawing deeper than rationale could ever reach. I felt like I was drowning, and Maya's compassion, though genuine, made me feel claustrophobic, trapped under layers of expectation and scrutiny. What does she know? I said bitterly, the question tumbling out as I struggled for clarity. What could she possibly understand about this? Maybe more than you think, Laura replied softly, her empathy swaddling my furious heart in a fragile embrace. She loves you, Matt. Love. It was a word I had been craving yet running from all at once. The vastness of love felt heavy, as if I were standing at the precipice, looking into an abyss where all my fears and desires intertwined. But the sight before me shattered whatever taut strings of anger I had left. Maya sat there, a picture of quiet strength beside my mother, her expression soft and steady, completely attuned to my mom's unsteady breaths. Maya was leaning in closer, her hand resting reassuringly on my mother's back, a gesture so simple, yet so profoundly intimate. Why couldn't I see this? I whispered, the question more of a confession as I felt my heart drop even lower. I turned to Laura. She shouldn't be here. I didn't want her to be a part of this pain. Matt, she said, her voice gentle but firm, pulling me back from the precipice of self-doubt. She's your friend. You don't have to carry your grief alone. You can let her be a support, even if it feels complicated. But it's complicated, I said, my voice rising again. Jamie's earlier spark of excitement felt like a shadow, a reminder of a happiness that seemed so far away now that I could barely reach it. Suddenly, Jamie tugged at my shirt, his small frame an anchor pulling me back toward the present. Can I see Grandma now? He asked, his innocence cutting through the layers of tension like a bright ray of sun. I looked down at him, and the sincerity in his eyes melted my frustration. Okay, I said, feeling the last of my resolve near its end. Let's go in, Laura nodded, her hand a steadying light on my shoulder as I took my first tentative step toward the door. Each footfall felt heavy, as though weighted by the gravitas of what we were about to face. Jamie, seemingly oblivious to the shifting emotions swirling around him, walked ahead, his small hand reaching out, innocent and full of hope that I didn't want to ruin that for him. I nudged the door open. That feeling of belonging slid around me, a reminder that despite everything splitting us apart, we could still carve a path through the chaos together. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt the reality of our situation cocooning me. Maya looked up, her presence suddenly grounding but also disarming. Her eyes met mine, filled with emotions I couldn't decipher: understanding, affection, maybe even regret. Hey, she said softly, her voice pulling me back from my whirlwind, but I felt the weight of 1,000 words tangling between us, unsaid and unreconciled. Hey, I replied, trying to hold on to the fragments of composure I had left, and my mother turned to look at me, a soft smile curling at her lips even as the shadows clung to her features. I forced a smile through the worry pooling inside me, but as I stared into her eyes, a wave of fear crashed over me. I was still tangled in a web of confusion, my heart a battlefield of love and grief, and as I stepped closer, the shadows seemed to loom larger, threatening to swallow me whole. And just then, I noticed something shocking me: Mother's hands, clasping tightly around a small, yellowed piece of paper. It lay crumpled against her thigh, and in an instant, I could feel the air shift dangerously. Was this the reassurance she had been holding on to? Mom, what's that? My voice trembled against the rest of the silence, the question slipping out before I even had time to consider the implications. Her smile faltered slightly, eyes flickering between recognition and trepidation. She hesitated, her eyes darting toward Maya before meeting my gaze again. It's something important. My heart raced, as if sensing the depths of whatever revelation lay ahead, the air thickening with the weight of the unknown. I was caught in a web of fear, wondering if I truly wanted to uncover the truth, as memories of our family echoed through my mind, reminding me that some secrets could shatter everything that I felt as if we were all straddling the edge of a cliff, unclear of whether we would find a solid ground or be swept into an abyss, teetering between heartache and potential healing. The moment hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst, and I felt time shift beneath me. My heart pounded, caught in a frantic dance between dread and longing as I watched my mother hold on to that crumpled piece of paper. Something important, Mom? I repeated, my voice softer this time, almost pleading. I half hoped she would say it was just a silly letter or an old grocery list, something mundane that didn't carry the weight of life-altering truths. But the silence that wrapped around us spoke volumes louder than words. What's important? Her gaze flickered back to Maya, a relationship we hadn't fully explored, yet here we were, thrust into this vulnerable moment. I could see the confusion in her eyes, but also the flicker of that radiant woman I had always known, the mother who fought battles with unwavering resolve. But what was this battle we shared now? It's about the future, she finally murmured, the words escaping her lips like a whisper on the wind. And my wishes? An avalanche of emotions swirled around the room, and I felt my chest tighten, the ache of all my fears pulsating like a drumbeat echoing off the sterile walls. This was what we had all been running from, each in our own way, each hoping for clarity in the shadows. Jamie shifted beside me, looking between our mother and me, his small face painted with innocence, a reflection of the purity we all longed to protect. What do you mean? He asked, his childlike curiosity cutting through the tension, threading through the layers of unsaid emotions. Are you feeling okay? I felt like I was standing on the edge of a precipice, weighing the importance of shielding him from this harsh reality while recognizing that clarity had to exist somewhere amidst our chaos. We had already endured so much, and Jamie had been so brave. I had promised him hope, but would hope shatter? Yes, honey, my mother replied, her voice steadying, the gentle strength rooting her words. With a deep breath, she began, I want to talk to you all about what I've been thinking while I've been here. Maya took a small step back, allowing that moment to breathe, a move I appreciated as I felt the weight of the world teeter in the space where we stood. Mom, we just want you to be okay, I breathed, my heart bursting with urgency. Whatever you're thinking about your wishes or planning decisions, they're all valuable. But first, please promise me you're not giving up. She looked up at me, kindness lit behind her tired eyes. Not giving up, Matt. Just planning for what might come. I swallowed hard, fear unraveling the thread of my strength. As the last few words ran through the air, she unfurled that crumpled paper in her grasp, a vision of hope and sorrow entwined in one. It's a list, she said, crinkling her brow, eyes shining with vulnerability. It contains my wishes for how I want to live out the time I have left. It doesn't mean I'm ready to leave. I'm not. But I want you both to understand my thoughts. I want to be honest about my journey. The air withdrew as the revelation settled between us, the shock of it reverberating within my soul. You want to talk about this now? I whispered, feeling the pins and needles of trepidation crawling up my spine. Now is all we have, dear, she replied gently, glancing back to Maya, who nodded in encouragement. And I want you to know that I still believe in hope. In us. It felt as if the tension that had once wrapped tightly around my heart began to loosen, threads of understanding weaving amid the chaos. And it struck me then perhaps this moment wasn't as much about what we would lose, but rather how we would learn to cherish the time we still had together. I glanced over to Maya, her warm gaze steadying me as I processed this new path laid bare before us. A new chapter we'd all have to face together. I want you to dance at my birthday, my mother said, a hint of a smile breaking through, brightening her party of shadows. I refuse to let the sadness of what may be dictate how we live while we can. I still want to hold on to moments, even the simplest ones, a shared laugh over cookies, and wisps of memories filled with love. Jamie's eyes sparkled, and for the first time enveloped in this heaviness, I felt a flicker of joy leap back into existence. He grinned. Can we bake cookies then? I want Grandma to have dessert. Exactly, my mother exclaimed, delight flashing across her face. Even when things feel dark, it's the little things that matter most. That's why I wrote my wishes down. I want us to remember life's simplicity and to create those small moments of joy. Tears clung to my lashes as I watched and felt the warmth of vulnerability spread, weaving a tenuous but powerful bond between us. The difference between feeling lost and found was acceptance, wasn't it? Acceptance of who we were, humbled, broken, and fiercely loving. Just as I was about to say something, I promised that I would always cherish this, no matter how fleeting it caught my attention. That's why I want you all to be a part of this, she continued, glancing lovingly at Jamie, then at me. This list doesn't just have my wishes. It's a roadmap for us all, for what I want to share, and for how we can come together. I wiped the tears from my cheeks, realizing that somewhere between the heavy aspirations of fear and love, a way forward had awakened. In that moment, I understood that we could weave this together. Maya captured my gaze again, tenderness etched on her face, urging me to open my heart to the edge of uncertainty ahead. What if we could find strength in acceptance? Perhaps there was a path. In that same breath, Jamie whispered, "Can no one be sad when we're baking cookies?" "I promise," my mother said with a tender gaze directed at him. "But we will cry together, too." Life is filled with both all the laughter for the happy times and the tears for the hard ones. And as we stood there, connected in this paradox of shadow and light, I took a deep breath, the pieces of my heart slowly stitching together within this newfound reality. A reassuring heaviness settled in my heart as I let that warmth seep into my bones alongside the fear, a beautiful blend of acceptance blooming where it had once felt impossible. And in that moment, as Jamie smiled bright and pure, I felt the truth settle inside me, a truth that challenged fear and embraced love, reaffirming that we were forever linked against whatever came next. So, even as I stood on that precipice of potential heartache, I knew, as my mother held my hand within her warm grasp, that whatever we faced would be a journey we could walk together, a testament to resilience, hope, and the unwavering power of love. Together, I whispered, feeling the word change shape as it threaded between us, binding our hearts beneath a shared sky of unyielding connections. And from that moment on, every moment we spent would matter. In that fragile yet fierce surrender, we were not merely walking into uncertainty, we were learning to dance with it. And finally, beneath the weight of that impossible love, I found a shimmer of peace rising within me. It echoed like a silent oath. We would meet our storms together, unraveling fears and weaving hopes, because within that fragile space existed the wonder of simply being alive, whether laughing, baking cookies, or embracing tears. And there, it felt like a small miracle, that perhaps love could be this beautiful after all.